understand, well, even people who have perhaps retired but worked for a long time in the United States would like to share their expertise, Balik Scientist Program, you have those, and people that would like to just work with the government just to help out and share their experience.
Absolutely. There's been a growing interest to either give back on one side or to be part of a whole growing ecosystem of social entrepreneurship, wherein those who have acquired considerable knowledge or insights into how to grow, say, a farm to feed a bigger group, or how to start up certain technologies. They've gone back to the Philippines and helped some of the schools, some of the fledgling entrepreneurs start up their own operations, and often they're not put in the news. It's not either too sexy for some news to cover them, but they're making a definite difference in our country.
Consul General, would you like to mention some statistics with regards to the booming economy of the nation?
Well, the economy of the Philippines for the longest time has been below the radar, but now a lot of the economic observers are beginning to run out of adjectives. Emerging country, the brightest star of Asia. The Philippines has grown particularly during the administration of Benigno Aquino. In terms of growth, the past 4 years would have an average of around 6.5%. Last year, we had a growth of around 7.2%. That's pretty much admirable, considering that last quarter we were hit by a powerful typhoon that disrupted not only private consumption, but even government infrastructure projects. So it might have pushed back some of the infrastructure projects to the second half of this year. That growth of 7.2% is, I think, the second best in Asia, next only to China. So you have that growth, and then at the same time, you have key sectors that are growing. Business process outsourcing, generating around 1 million in employment, and pretty much 10% probably of GDP. The remittance flows from overseas Filipinos, reaching around 25 billion annually, almost around 10% of GDP as well. So that fuels a lot of the consumption, particularly in the real estate, healthcare, and education sector. So a lot of these sectors are experiencing multiple growths and multiple level growths. And then at the same time, a lot of government projects have been pretty much being unleashed. You see a lot of infrastructure connecting towns, connecting many of the islands. So probably the benefits would be reaped in terms of after the current administration. But the expenditure is driving a lot of the economic activity in the country.
I'm glad you mentioned all the different investment opportunities and definitely the benefits of investing in the Philippines. At the same time, a lot of people mention this because English is also one of the official languages, so it makes it easier. You have a lot of call centers in the Philippines.
Yes, we're right now, call centers or contact centers were outstripping India already. We've strength, as you mentioned, in English. At the same time, it becomes a bit of the voice of the Filipino, I think, as a call center agent is different from the voice of an Indian call center agent. At the same time, the approach to the caller. They say that the Filipino tends to be more of a problem solver, recipient of the call. I could not comment on the Indian call center agent, but somehow that has helped boost our call centers operation to the point that a lot of Indian operators of call centers have moved part of their operations into the Philippines. So you could imagine they've leveraged part of their strength and used our talents to further have a connection with the industry. But the higher end, there's also a growing trend towards what they call knowledge process outsourcing. A lot of the banks, they've hired Filipino mathematicians and ex-bankers to price out some of their products, including mortgage loans or even bond rates on a daily basis. So while some of the executives are sleeping, say in America, somebody's doing the computation for their bonds in the Philippines. And that's a high-end outsourced service.
Right. And I understand because of this positive climate and environment, many people opt, especially the Filipinos who return there and retire, opt to stay there, almost retire and live there forever. So let's talk about dual citizenship. What are the requirements for dual citizenship, and what are the benefits of being a dual citizen?
In just, I say that it's the cheapest way to paradise. It costs only $50, and we're pretty much the easy person to talk with in terms of reacquiring dual citizenship. You basically just need to fill out a form, have one proof that you're former Filipino by birth, either birth certificate or a marriage certificate, then a certificate of naturalization with the U.S., meaning you lost your Philippine citizenship. Then we're okay, we're good. We can schedule your oath taking. It usually happens faster than you can say dual citizenship.
So it's an easy process.
Yeah, it's easy.
Right.
It's painless.
Yes. Well, we're in the United States, and I'm sure I understand there is some allocation of funds that were given recently by the United States for law enforcement and maritime.
Yeah, primarily for maritime policing. As we mentioned earlier, there's 7,100 islands in the Philippines. You can imagine the breadth of our waterways and the length of the shorelines that our Navy and our Coast Guard has to protect. We're challenged by a lot of the resource needs. We need a lot more patrol boats, and top of the news during the past few months or years has been the dispute over some of the islands in the Spratlys, the western side of the Philippines, and somehow those islands are contested by 5 or 6 other countries, and we have one regional neighbor that tends to rely on a map that doesn't have any support in the international community or international law.
So this is something that the U.S. and the Philippines sort of like discuss, and they're in support of.
We've had discussions with the U.S. government and even some of our neighbors that what we pretty much want to happen in the region is the rule of law to prevail. Meaning, if somebody claims an island, it should be anchored on international law. No one can just draw a map and say that I've drawn a map. You have to honor this map. It has to be a map that's pretty much honored by the international community. There should be no bullying, and whether you're big or small, you have to pretty much obey the law or the international norms. So we've talked with the U.S., we've talked with Australia, we've talked with Japan, and many of our ASEAN neighbors. And somehow there's a growing consensus that the approach that we've taken in terms of having dialogues and having a known arbiter or an international tribunal settle all disputes is the acceptable norm, rather than going to a military buildup or something like that.
Well, so we approach almost the end of our interview. I'd like to ask, basically, how would you evaluate the relationship of the Philippines and the United States? I'm sure it's really very friendly and cooperative. At the same time, the efforts that the Philippine government is also doing in cooperation with the entire world to fight terrorism.
Well, pretty much our cooperation with the U.S. is anchored on shared values. Earlier alluded to shared value of democracy, shared values on the rule of law, and somehow we have also the shared values of respecting the way of our lives. We've chosen this particular way of life that the U.S. has enjoyed and the Filipinos have enjoyed, and we've seen any terroristic activity as a disruption to that kind of way of life. That's why the Philippines has stand shoulder to shoulder with the U.S. in terms of fighting terrorism, whether it's homegrown or any part of the world. We've cooperated at the law enforcement side, at the intelligence gathering side, and even in sending of modest troops, just to put a signal that we share these values with the U.S.
Well, many people, Filipinos, Filipino-Americans, and their children who are born here go to the Philippines for beautiful events like Christmas and Holy Week, etc. But I know Pope Paul Francis is going to the Philippines. The Philippines must be in preparation for his arrival.
I think the moment that the current Pope was elected, the Filipinos were already preparing for his visit. They recall fondly the last visit of the Pope, who was recently declared a saint.
Yes.
And somehow it's always the visit of the Pope converts the Pope into a massive rock star in the Philippines. Even Filipinos who live outside the country tend to want to share in the blessings and that auspicious moment. So it will be a big, giant activity come January, and it will be a good start for our country in terms of 2015, because next year we'll be also hosting a big event, the APEC summit.
I see.
And that will be 21 countries in the Pacific region with their leaders, including President Obama from the U.S., coming to the Philippines to discuss economic issues for the Pacific Rim. So January, you have the blessings of the Pope. Then you have all these politicians coming in November. It will be a nice year for the Philippines next year.
Yes, yes. Well, we wish you good luck, Consul General Lim, for the work, the very wonderful work that you're doing for the Filipino community. And finally, please extend your message to all the Filipinos around the world and for those who are living here in English and in Tagalog. Ano po ang inyong mensahe sa ating mga kababayan?
Well, sa lahat ng ating kababayan, no, sa English ko na sasabihin siguro, no, para magkaintindihan kami. Remain connected, remain proud of your heritage, whether you're Filipino or Filipino-American. At the same time, continue to share your values that are pretty much Filipino in essence, being family-oriented, faith-centered, and a good contributor to any society. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Salamat, Awee.
Thank you very much. We've just brought you Public Affairs, an interview with Consul General Leo Herrera-Lim, right here at the Philippine Consul General Office on Wilshire Boulevard. Awee Abayari saying goodbye for now. Thank you so much for watching. May God bless you always.